clear that we are a nation that lives by our values and demonstrates that in every way possible, and certainly because we need an economy again that is creating good jobs with rising incomes for hardworking Americans. There are so many reasons. And if we had time tonight, every one of you could talk about what passionately motivates you to become involved in politics at all. And as I said at the convention, I never believed this was about me. I have lived in the White House, thank you very much. It was not about changing my address, it was about changing America and giving great campaign, for which I am not only grateful but will always be proud. But now we have to ask ourselves, we have an election on November 4th, and the stakes could not be higher. Anyone who doesn't believe that it matters who's elected our president, I hope has been totally disabused of that thought in the last 8 years, and if not, in the last 2 weeks. All you have to do is pick up the paper or turn on the TV. Look for the news on the internet. You know what's happening. And there are many reasons for this economic crisis that we are in, but certainly high among the causes was an ideology that gripped this administration, that created the indifference and the incompetence that we have seen with respect to overseeing and monitoring our global markets for capital and our financial institutions. I started warning about this 2 years ago. I gave a speech and said, you know, we got to do something about this subprime mortgage mess. And it's not just about people losing their homes, as tragic as that is, it's about the ripple effect through the economy. And over again, I came up with ideas and I put out warnings. And I was blown off by the Bush administration. They said, oh, this will be contained. We don't need to modify mortgages. We don't need a foreclosure moratorium. We don't need to freeze interest rates. We don't need an entity to try to, rescue our financial institutions by injecting more capital and trying to hold them accountable. We don't need any of that. Well, reality has caught up with ideology. And now we are facing an unprecedented effort to try to have the federal government assume this debt. We haven't done anything even near to this since the Great Depression. So I believe it really, really matters who we elect on November the 4th, and that is why I'm working so hard for Barack Obama and Joe Biden. What a difference it will make to have a Democratic president in the White House as a senator. We have a lot of work to do. We have to get through this crisis in as non-political a way as possible. There'll be plenty of time to cast blame and to score points, but right now we've got to figure out how we're going to navigate through these uncharted waters. But then we have to have a regulatory framework for the 21st century. We have to have competent, smart people again who actually work in the federal government. So, one of my core beliefs is we've got to get back to evidence-based decision-making, where we actually look at risk and consider the consequences and ramifications of our actions. So, since June, I have been traveling across the country. I've been raising money. I've been to Florida and Ohio, New Mexico, Nevada. I've been from Boston to San Francisco. I've tried to do what I could do to make the case that this is bigger than any one of us whose names were on the ballot. Because I wish every one of your names and tens of millions of other Americans' names were on the ballot. Because this election, which has provoked so much interest and so much discussion, People go around all the time and they ask each other, well, who are you for? That is the wrong question. The question should be, who is for you? Who will fight for you, stand up for you, work for you, make a difference for you? And there isn't any doubt. We have a clear and stark choice before us. And I know that from every fiber of my being, for as long as I have been involved in public service and before that in advocacy and organizational work and so much else, it really does matter. This election may be more than any that I've lived through. You know, I have been an adult for 10 presidential elections. Democrats have only won 3 of those. Now that may be a good percentage for baseball, but it's a lousy percentage for progress in America. And I don't want to lose again. I want to win. And I want to begin working with a new Democratic team with more Democratic senators so that we are not totally paralyzed by the Republican filibusters. Because we have a pile of unfinished business. It's just been sitting there. I mean, it is heartbreaking that 8 years ago we had a balanced budget and a surplus. Factor after factor, and the quality of life and the standard of living of the American people, we have gone in absolutely the wrong direction. So how do we fix that? Well, we have the opportunity in this election. And as Andrea said, it's not only what I'm doing, it's what I invite you and ask you to do as well. I didn't win Massachusetts without you, without your extraordinary efforts. And I want you to work as hard for Barack and Joe as you worked for me, to put your energy and your commitment behind this ticket. And we kicked off a new program this afternoon. I had a conference call, maybe some of you were on it, there were thousands of people on it. And I introduced a new program, a grassroots program called Hillary Sent Me, where we are asking people who supported me to go work in battleground states for our presidential ticket, for our senators, for members of Congress, to really have the best election we can possibly manage. And I am going to kick this off tomorrow. You go to my website, killpack.com, and look at the details. We're going to be coordinating with the Obama campaign, where you'll be able to know where to go to canvass and the rest. Well, the nearest battleground state with a very important Senate race happens to be New Hampshire.